All right, welcome back. This is Africa in View, where we zone in on the latest that's happening across the African continent. This morning in particular, we look at Zambia. The founding president and liberation icon of the country, Kenneth Kaunda, passed away on Thursday at the age of 97. He's remembered across the continent and around the world as a liberator who gave his heart to the emancipation of the African continent. Now, Kaunda is also known for the support he gave to South Africa's fight for liberation. To tell us more about the legacy the stalwart leaves behind and gives us just a sense of how the country is dealing with his loss, we are joined by Zambian journalist Arthur Sikopo. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning, Arthur. Let's just get straight into that legacy. Commiserations. First of all, the Zambian people will be mourning. How much of a loss is it for the country?
Well, thank you so much for having me on this particular show, and thank you so much for the messages that you are pouring in of goodwill and, of course, of condolences over the death of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Well, the country has lost quite a great icon. We can describe him. He has been quite instrumental in terms of making the country a peaceful country, making the country which is united through a motto that we have and that we still use as a country, which is one Zambia, one nation. So it is quite a great loss to the country. Of course, I know obviously to the African, in terms of Southern Africa region, the African continent as a whole, and of course the world as a whole, because of just the role that he played in quite a number of issues around the continent.
I mean, absolutely. He was a massive figure across the continent and internationally as well. But, for the Zambian people, they would obviously remember Dr. Kenneth Kaunda a lot better than a lot of us would. Let's just talk about, some of the legacy, in particular, some of the projects that he's left behind. I mean, he was in power for 27 years. He is essentially the founding father of the country. And that would have come with a lot of work that had to be done, a lot of responsibilities that he carried on his broad shoulders.
Exactly. Being the founding father of this country, Dr. Kaunda was very instrumental in terms of fighting for the liberation of Zambia. By then we were called Northern Rhodesia, not until we got independence in 1964. And tend to be called Zambia. So he played quite a huge role in that struggle for independence as we were being colonized by Britain. And he is one of those people that had to travel from Northern Rhodesia then, or from Zambia, to go to England, just to go and sign that treaty that made the colonial rulers to sort of stop their rule to come to an end in Zambia. So he played quite a huge role, and of course, when you look around, a number of buildings around can be attributed or are attributed to him, especially those monumental buildings. A number of projects around in the country are attributed to him. A number of positive development projects in the country are attributed to him. You cannot mention Zambia without the name Kenneth Kaunda. You cannot look at the country's infrastructure in terms of the health infrastructure, in terms of the road network, in terms of the agriculture sector, without mentioning the name of Kaunda. So he has quite done a lot in this country. And even just after he left office, in 1991, when Frederick Chiluba took over after 27 years of rule, Dr. Kaunda still never had that grudge of wanting to still be in power, or had that grudge against Frederick Chiluba. But he embraced him, and of course, he continued doing good things in the country by way of clinging to charity organizations, where he was very instrumental in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the country, and of course on the continent, as he was appointed as ambassador by a number of institutions, including the African Union. He would represent very much in some of those bodies talking much about HIV and AIDS and just how to fight HIV and AIDS.
I mean, you mentioned the fact that once he had to, once he was out of office, it was a peaceful transition. In fact, he called for unity. We know that his term came to an end under some violence. There were protests which resulted in a number of people killed and injured, but that's not what the man stood for. It's almost unheard of, though, that you know, an individual will be in power for so long, over 2 decades, short of 3, and yet he was easy and, should I say, happy with letting go of that power and moving the country forward.
Exactly, and that is one respect that Zambians give him, and the Zambians will remember him for that peaceful transition. It was not a thing that obviously came quite easy, but after looking at the situation, Dr. Kaunda himself had to sign to have the part of the constitution which maintained, which talked about Zambia being a one-party state. So Dr. Kaunda had to allow that multi-party state be or come into force. And that is how Dr. Chiluba started contesting as well, because of course there were those riots and all, but the man stood for peace, and it is the reason why he even agreed to sign that part of the constitution to just have a multi-party come back into system. And of course, when multi-party came into system, he also went to go and vote, but of course he respected the people's will, and that is one great thing that Zambians remember him for that magnanimity to just allow, even after being in power for so long. We know that some people would not want to leave power. They say power is sweet, but Dr. Kaunda agreed, and of course peacefully left power to Frederick Chiluba, which was quite a great thing, and which is one thing that Zambians will remember him for and will cherish him for. Even after that, Dr. Kaunda still spoke about peace and stood on a platform of peace and love.
Now, Arthur, let's bring it more to the present day now. Of course, the news broke on Thursday. Just talk to us about how it's been in Zambia since then. I understand it's a 21-day of mourning that's currently being observed. What else is happening in the country that really just pays tribute to this icon?
So when the news broke out first that Dr. Kaunda was admitted, was hospitalized at a military hospital in Lusaka, Zambians were worried. Zambians started praying, and we could see all those messages all over on social media, and also on regular media like radio, TV, just wishing the old man well. Then we got an update later on, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, that he was recovering, and of course there was that happiness and joy in amongst ourselves that the old man was recovering and of course likely to be discharged. But unfortunately on Thursday the news broke out, and it was quite a somber mood for everyone in the country. Of course, when he died at 14:30, and messages just started coming through, and of course, when government confirmed, it became so official that, of course, he had left us. So what has been happening in the country is that people are in their somber mood, and people are mourning him peacefully. The president of Zambia, the current president of Zambia, Edgar Chagolungu, had to visit the funeral house yesterday and just to sign in the book of condolences. And there is quite unity amongst Zambians, regardless of which political affiliation one holds. So we even have the leading opposition leader in the country, who is Hakainde Hichilema. As you know, Zambia is going to elections, was going to vote for a president, vice president, of course, members of parliament, and those in the civil leadership. So we are in a period of campaign this time around. So the leading opposition leader, Hakainde Hichilema, who is leading the United Party for National Development, he had to suspend all campaigns in honor of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. That only goes to show that Zambians are united, regardless of what political party they are coming from, regardless of a region they are coming from. Zambians are united this time around, and just are looking up to the heavens to just see them through. And of course, government is in the process of just making all the arrangements for the funeral and for the burial of the late president.
I mean, it's a very sad, day and a week and 21 days it will be for the Zambian nation and as well as for the African continent. Indeed, just looking at some of the videos that we've seen of the legendary Dr. Kaunda over the years, he was always a happy man. He was a people's person. Some of the characteristics that sort of characterized him was the fact that he loved singing and he loved dancing. I mean, a lot of us would have never gotten the chance to get to know him, even, anything closer than what we would have seen on television. But just talk to us about his human nature of being such an important figure, such a giant of a man, but ultimately just a human being.
Yes, Dr. Kaunda was quite a very friendly, very peaceful, and a very welcoming man. He would, when his vehicle is moving, at some point he would just stop in the middle of the road just to greet people. And that time when he had enough strength, he would just walk out to the car and run around maybe about some few meters, then come back to the car, greet people around along the road. And whenever people saw him on the road, whenever people saw him anywhere, maybe at an event, they would go to him and they get to him, just greet him, take pictures with him. And he was quite very open and very accommodating and very jovial with people. So each time he would meet people, he had a tradition that he used to do. So when you meet him, you'd you'd shake your hand, and after shaking your hand, he would get his handkerchief and places his hand on your head, then releases a prayer of blessing in your life. So that is one thing that Zambians cherished about Dr. Kaunda. He was quite very open with people, very friendly, and he was very welcoming. He loved to sing, of course. He loved to sing. He loved to sing those years for his wife, Betty Kaunda, who is also late, and also for the country. So he would attend some function, and if there is a live band there or a musician who is singing there, at some point he would just maybe stand up in his old age, go and grab that guitar, then he would start singing along, and of course playing the guitar. If there are those drums or is it a piano there, he would go and sit there and I just sing a song for people that are attending that particular function, and of course for the country. So he'll be remembered for that. Some of those particular traits that he had of being so human and just so welcoming and just so friendly with the people that he ruled at some point.
Right, that's Zambian journalist Arthur Sikopo just paying tribute to one of the last of a generation of African liberation leaders, really, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who passed away tragically, passed away on Thursday at the age of 97. Right, still to come. There is some new unedited video footage that has emerged, and it is now part of the investigation into the death of South African man Lindani Mieni in the U.S. in Honolulu. He died in April. We'll have that discussion when we return. Stay with us.